about that here in a second. Without further ado, guys continuing to kick ass. And I liked the John McMullen one-way highway. It's that one-way highway, baby. That's how we do it down there on Birds 365. And I love Zander navigating around that thing. He's so good at it now. Our friend, Benji. Zander Krause, how you doing?
What's up, Big Shells? How we doing, brother?
Good, man. Good. I mean, opening day baseball for you means what?
Good time of the year, man. It's the start of spring. You know, you're starting to get warm outside. You're going into a different period. For football lovers, you know, it's not the greatest time. But if you're a guy like me and you love all sports, I think you're happy to have something at this time of the year. And I'm excited. You know, I just had the Yankees on. They kicked off their season today, and the Phillies are coming up in a little bit. So pretty good day. I like opening day of baseball, Sills. I think baseball is a great sport, man. I really do.
You want to hear my Phillies bowl predictions?
I'll give you mine, too. Go ahead.
Harper leads the National League in home runs with 45 bombs. Zach Wheeler wins the National League Cy Young.
Holy.
Trey Turner scores 115 runs. The Phillies make it all the way to the NLCS.
All right, I like those predictions. Big for Trey Turner. That means you're changing his entire approach at the plate. I don't know what's going on over there in that Phillies facility, but they're turning everybody into bombers. You got to get some small ball this year. I like that they're putting them at leadoff though today.
Me too. I saw that too, and they got Harper in the two-hole.
Get to it. I mean, that's what he is. He's a prototypical perfect leadoff guy. Get him on base. I said this morning, if I'm Trey Turner, the only thing I want to do this year when I come up to the bag is get the first. Anything else I get is icing on the cake. Get me to first base. I got to be a runner. So I like those predictions. I didn't make as many as you, but I got 93 wins for the Phillies this year. 93 wins.
95. I got 95.
That's pretty good. And look, you got to get hot at the right time. We all know how baseball goes, but I think people have gone a little. I think too many people are out. All right, I think this team has a lot of good players. If they get hot at the right time, if things are working for the Phillies, they have a chance. So don't hang up the hat. I mean, that's all one dude. Oh, the Phillies are going to suck. I'm like, well, what the? They didn't even throw the first pitch. You know, 84 wins.
I think that's a good roster, man. I do. I think that's a really good roster.
It's not perfect, but they got good players. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah. They got to help. They got to fix the bullpen here. Here's my Yankee Yankee bowl predictions.
All right, let's hear them.
I got Judge hitting 60 homers.
Holy Nikes, man. He better because they don't got Garrett Cole.
I got Aaron Judge, Paul Goldschmidt, Cody Bellinger combining at 120 homers. Max Fried wins the American League Cy Young. I think that kid's everything that is advertised.
All right.
Soto hit over for the Mets. I had to throw a Met in there.
You got
it. He hits 25.
Especially Soto, former Yankee.
Yankees. I think they make it all the way to the ALDS and get bounced because they don't have enough pitching. They got this kid Max Fried, but I don't think they have enough pitching. So I think they get bounced in the ALDS.
Pretty good. I mean, they're going to have a shot in the AL for sure. I mean, I don't know, who do you like coming out of the AL? Orioles, Yankees? I mean,
Dude, don't go to sleep on the Rays, man. Do not go to sleep on the
Rays.
Rays. Rays are good. Boston, I think, is going to be
Boston's always good. I mean, let's be real. Boston always.
Orioles. I think it's going to be a tight race. I just don't think there's a lot of gigantic pitching in that division. But I'm telling you, man, Rays. Get this. You know the Rays averages the last 5-6 years. The Rays have averaged 93 wins.
It's pretty good.
They got a $68 million payroll.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. You're right. I mean, you could argue they're they're getting the most value out of their roster than any team in the MLB.
I mean, think about it. Do the original Moneyball.
Dude, what's the Phillies payroll? 260?
260. The Rays payroll is under $70 million. The Yankees are about 190.
Yankees are what?
Like 190.
And the Dodgers, they got to be insane.
265 got to be.
So if this is correct, I typed it in Google. AI gave me a thing. Dodgers 321.
Oh my God.
New York Mets 315. Sounds about right.
Yep.
Yankees 272. Phillies
That's right.
289. Holy
Man.
shit. Don Middleton's outspending the Yankees.
Hey, have you been over or underwhelmed by Dave Dombrowski?
I thought he did good things early, and I think he's kind of gone to sleep at the wheel. But here's the other thing I think that people have to see through. I think everybody goes into like every offseason and they want every move to happen. And like I was saying this morning, I think there's a little bit of a lost art in put your team in a good position, allow them to mesh and grow as a team. And when the stars align, if they do align, you're going to be in a good spot. Like I'm not the kind of fan that's like, oh, 1 year, blow, fire Topper, get rid of that. You know what I mean? Like I thought they could have. The one thing I wanted them to do this year, I was talking about this morning. I wanted them to move on from Schwarber because I didn't like him at leadoff. And I wanted another small ball batter in the lineup. If I can get Harper at 3 or 4, put him at 4, put Bohm at 3, give me Turner at 1. If I can get another small ball hitter, and then you have Castellanos and Real Muto in the back of the lineup, I think you have a great lineup. But they still got Schwarber, so they're probably going to put him at 3 or 4. I think they have him at 4 today, and we'll see what they do. But overall, I'm not a Dombrowski hater. I think he's done a pretty good job. But I wanted to see him make one move this year, and I didn't think he made it. But we'll see. I think they're still a solid squad.
I know they're in D.C., so when they come home in the home opener, here's Big Sills playing Big Sills and giving you my theory and, again, my conspiracy theory. That's the day that the Eagles will extend Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni because they will not want to be knocked off the front page of the Inquirer. That's when they remember what happened last year. They cut Hassan Reddick on opening day. Okay, or they traded him on opening day. Am I wrong?
So you're saying they're swooping in on Monday?
Yes.
Although I think the Monday weather is supposed to be.
The Flyers did. The Flyers just cut and fired Tortorella.
Yeah, which again, I see people, finally got rid of Torts. I'm like, if you
right.
think Torts was the problem, I mean, listen, Torts, I agree with people that Torts wasn't the answer to fix this particular team. But, oh, God, the Flyers have so many issues that were outside of Tortorella. But no, a Monday move, I don't know. It's supposed to be crappy weather, so it might be a shitty opening the game. I'm not sure if I'll be there or not, but we'll see. Should be a good MLB season. I'm hoping for a good MLB season because I'm hoping for a rising of the tide on all shit for all sports. I want basketball to make a revival. I want MLB to ascend. I want the NHL to ascend. I want all of sports to continue to rise, get better, bring more fans in, and bring in great entertainment and great sports to the country.
Okay, here we go. Here's a topic. So Mike Green ran a 3-cone drill at 6.85 seconds. According to mock draft, just 8 edge rushers recorded a faster time since 1999. Marshall's DE posted a jaw-dropping 4.25 short shuttle, 6'8" 3-cone shuttle, making him one of the most athletic edge rushers to enter the NFL draft. The sexual assault allegations, I read them. He's never been charged. There's never been a crime against him. He left because of the false accusations. Now, this is according to him for Marshall, and that's why he left Virginia. Now, we see stories with Matt Ariza. The Eagles are known to give opportunities, not putting Jalen Carter in that category, but I'm talking issues. Michael Vick is an issue there that you had. The Cooper Riley situation. The organization believes in second chances. I think this kid's going to fall. And I think he's going to fall drastically because if you look at what the Bears did at 9, you had a kid who was in the car who wasn't even.
I know.
Okay, but his guilt by association.
I mean, listen.
Caused the Bears not to take him. I'm not. If I'm the Bears, that's a colossal disaster on what you did. Now, All that being said, if Big Dom goes in and finds the accusations, I don't think every crimes case is the same. I don't think you can blanket it. And they find a kid and they exonerate the kid like Matarizza was. And he falls down to 26. He's the second best edge rusher, and he's one of those sandbox guys, Zander. What do you do?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, first off, the first thing that comes to mind is you don't win Super Bowls with choir boys. So from a blanket football perspective, let's analyze the player. All right. Is the player a difference maker? Is the player a guy that we establish as a team that we want to go and get? If we establish that, okay, let's move on to the next thing. The next thing for me would be, as a fan, would be I have to trust this organization. They've made good decisions with stuff like this continuously. Okay, they made a good decision with Jalen Carter. It seems that they have the right environment to put him in a good place. They made a decision on Michael Vick years ago. Another recent one was Isaiah Rodgers. There have been plenty of moments where the Philadelphia Eagles have gone out, given somebody a second chance. But here's the thing.
And been right.
They will not do it without due diligence. And they're going to find out more things than I'm going to find out. I'm not going to sit up here and say, do or don't take Mike Green. I think it would be wrong for me to say Mike Green shouldn't get a job or shouldn't be drafted because of something, one, I don't know anything about. Two, he's never been charged and it's an allegation. Sorry, I'm an American. I believe you're innocent until you're proven guilty in this country. Now, the muddy part of this situation is something that you talked about in the open, the sexual nature. Okay, Jalen Carter, we can all admit he made a bad decision. If you're going to cast a stone at Jalen Carter, I'd encourage you to look in the mirror. How many of us have sped their car at one point in time? How many of us have been stupid on the road, specifically when you were between 18 and 20? Now, Jalen Carter, what happened there is awful and resulted in the loss of life. But Jalen Carter did not have a complete character lapse. If these are true, again, I don't know if they are, you could argue that these are the type of things that you don't want to bring into your locker room. And I think the Eagles would know that a lot better than I would. And they'll figure that out. And if they determine no, it's going to be no. And if they determine yes, I'm gonna say they made the right decision because, one, I know who does all this stuff. It's Big Dom. Big Dom's a thorough dude, an Italian guy. And I don't think he's gonna bring somebody in that would be a bad reflection on the organization. So it's a tough situation with him. It really is. But again, I don't want to slander. I don't want to. But the reality is, the accusations exist. The story exists around the player. Well, we'll see what the Birds do. If I
think he's going to fall pretty drastically.
Just to answer your question, because I know I'm riding the fence a little bit, I didn't really give you a response. If I'm the Eagles and Big Dom said to me, this guy checks out, I think you're good, I would draft him 100%. If he didn't, then I would say it's probably not worth the hype. It's probably not worth the move there.
You know what, Zander? Watch this. If there's this, I checked the story out. I'll answer this here this way. 2 allegations. Green has faced allegations of sexual assault, one in high school and another in college. Denial. Green denies both allegations. Virginia suspension. After the 22 season, Green was suspended at Virginia due to an anonymous report of assault and subsequently transferred to Marshall. So he was really never suspended by Virginia. Virginia suspended him. They could have did that because the kid didn't like what was going on and decided to transfer because he was being slandered. Virginia never
sounds a little fuddy to me. Again, I don't know a lot about this case.
Right.
That does sound a little fuddy, though.
It does. It sounds like they got butthurt that he transferred.
Yeah, and I think somebody brings up a good point in the chat here. The problem with this thing, and I agree with a lot of what you said in the open, but this is a slippery slope, man.
Oh, completely.
Because if you're going to put a line in the sand about something being sexual, and I understand the different nature of that, but again, that opens up a whole can of worms on, are we now any allegation, anything that's come forward, any, money hungry person, people are devious. People have, ulterior motives in life. I'm not here to determine them. I'm here to determine whether the guy's innocent or guilty or whether he's a good guy for my organization. I think it's a slippery slope, but tough one.
How about this? This is what I would do. If Big Don comes back to me and he's sitting in front of Jeffrey, Lurie, Howie, and Nick, and maybe even the team leadership that you have in the room, and you're talking about the kid, and Dom goes like this, checked it out, allegations were not true, but if there's a but, I'm passing. Right. If there's no but,
well, it depends.
I'm going to move because here's a Nick Saban trick. When a pro team comes in and talks to Nick about a respected player, Nick always tells you this: if there's a but, don't take him. If I give you an endorsement on somebody and I don't bring but in, because to me, Zander, I'd rather have you tell me the guy's not tall enough, the guy's not fast enough like Trotter, than to tell me you've got a character problem of a sexual misconduct issue, because that's not a mistake. That's a character flaw.
Right. I agree.
And are you really going to replace Brandon Graham
with that?
With that?
You're not. You're not. And that's why I said if anything comes back, and that's where you might be right, where anytime you hear but, out. Because if Big Dom has anything to say about any concerns on that front, I think you just shut the book. I mean, you move on. Because, by the way, you're probably going to have to trade up to get this guy. Even if he does fall a little bit, the question would be, if you love him so much or you like him so much and he falls to 20, do you jump? 22, do you jump? I don't know. That's where it would be. So you got to remember that's a part of this. And
remember, the later he goes, the more chances he's falling to Philly. And I'll tell you why. The general managers in the top 15, those guys are under more pressure to win.
Right. Risk.
They're managing this year for their jobs, like the guy in New York, Joe Schoen.
Yeah, they got to win.
They got to win, man. And they may be forced to take a kid like that with a character problem and draft him because their jobs are on the line. He gets past 15, that guy's going to plummet to the bottom of the draft because good teams don't draft that and don't want to be involved in that. And some people, that's how Sapp fell. Sapp fell just because Sapp fell the same. Dennis Green told me that he made the biggest mistake on not taking Warren Sapp,
right,
because he had character issues and he had a pot problem.
Right.
You know what that happened a couple of years later on? Randy Moss was there. He said, screw that. I'm drafting Randy Moss,
right,
and took Moss.
It's a tough one because look, and I'm not picking on you in the chat, Tim, but he says no chick beaters, they never rehabilitate. And Tim, while I don't disagree with you, how did we reach that conclusion on Mike Green? That's my problem. Is how we reach that credible? Is it verifiable? Is it true? And if you don't get to the bottom of that, you could argue it's not worth it anyway. But I have a little bit of a problem calling a guy a chick beater when we have allegations, no charges.
And they were anonymous.
Pretty scarce information on both of these. I mean, I get it. I'm good if he's a chick beater too. I'm out. But how do we get to that? Is it true? I do what I hate, Sills, is I hate putting people in a box, labeling people without the truth. All right? I don't like that. I don't want to label a man or guilty or any of these things without it being true.
I do.
I know exactly. I don't like doing that. I understand that this is a tough situation, but I don't like doing that.
Would you want Tyreek Hill on your team?
Probably not, but for a lot of the reasons I don't think he's a good locker room guy for a bunch of other reasons. It doesn't really have to do with why. Does he have major sexual assault stuff too?
Yeah.
I know he's got a bunch of baby mamas and stuff, but I don't.
No, beating a kid too, like a little baby kid.
Oof.
Yeah. He's got a ton of things off the field issues.
The NFL has a long rap sheet for people. All right. So it's a part of it, I'd probably say no to Tyreek Hill. I was going to say no to Tyreek Hill before. I mean, I knew some of that existed. Again, I'm not like one of those guys that love.
No, I got it.
Magazine on sports guys getting in trouble, but Probably not.
Yeah, no,
Probably
I mean,
not.
yeah, well, and one thing I do dig, and you're right. If the Eagles and Dom cleared him, I'd be okay with it because you know why? They seemingly make the right decision with character.
Right.
And you know what I do admire about that? I do admire the Eagles on one thing. That's a thing to them. That it is a thing.
Yeah, it is. No doubt.
Look at the guys who just retired. Every one of those guys are high character guys. Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, Brandon Graham. These guys are all high character guys that they kept.
Yeah, and if you look across the locker room, Stills, our locker room is littered with a lot of high character guys.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that's one of the reasons this organization feels confident going young like they are right now.
It is.
And not replacing with all 30-year-olds because Jalen Hurts is the oldest 26-year-old, and by the way, the other thing that matters, and who did we have on? Oh, it was LeBron on the McAfee show. Did you hear LeBron talk about being in a winning environment and how much that means as a player, regardless of what level you're at? I thought that was gold from LeBron James on the Pat McAfee show. And he explained, I won at every level. I didn't know how to lose. We didn't lose. And we have a lot of those guys in Philly right now, man. And I think that culture, in my opinion, is one of the biggest reasons, more so than talent, that this team has been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years.
You want to hear one of my biggest failures in my life, in my transition to the NFL, and I wish that I saw it and understood it better. But the problem back in that time was you didn't have a lot of time to adjust. It was one take, and if you didn't get the take right, you were out.
Right.
You have 71 seats today. Back then you had 47 seats.
Yep.
And there was no hiding guys on the practice squad. I played at Miami, and even in my high school, dude, my 4 years in high school and my 5 years in college, let me think, 3, and I lost 4 games in 8 years. Okay, I mean, I didn't lose a lot of ball games.
It's a lifestyle.
It's a way of life.
It's a way of life. You win. I win in everything.
When I got to the Bucks, I lost more games in 1 year than I had lost in biddy football,
right,
high school football, and college football combined. Okay? And when I got there, Zander, I couldn't believe what a losing attitude looked like. The entire locker room with players that had come from great programs had all got sucked up in it like a sponge.
Right.
And before you know it, you're not doing the things that made you great, the extra studying. You want to get out of the building because you know why? You hate the environment.
Shitty environment, everybody.
And you don't even want to be around the players because the negativity is so rampant. You're living.
It's like a disease.
You hate going to work. The one thing that I say that the Eagles have that looks fun, it looks like you see those guys on that boat in Hawaii, all celebrating with one another and partying with one another. Let me tell you something, dude. That's not something that was scripted. That was something that has been evolved at that place. These guys love one another. They love being around one another. Do you know how crazy that is? Professional people wanting to be around each other. They want to be around each other because they have each other's back and they win. Dude, people love to be around winners. Nobody loves a complainer and nobody loves a loser. And if you do, I'll show you a fucking waiter. I mean, I don't buy that, man.
Losers love losers.
That's right, man. Hey, what'd you make of that McAfee interview?
I thought it was dope, man. I mean, I'm one of the people though that doesn't I don't watch that and feel compelled to hate Stephen A. I love the sides. I love hearing LeBron's perspective. I loved hearing even Stephen A's rebuttal today. Again, I don't agree with all of either of them. I think LeBron's perspective was interesting. I thought McAfee getting him in on that show was pretty dope. And I think LeBron, he's a big figure, and I think not many people are willing to admit how big of a figure he's been for the last 22 years. I mean, I think people even Pumper, and I'm not a bronzexual, whatever the fuck that means. But Zander or Bron, that's what I'm saying. One comment about LeBron and you're a bronze set. Like, this guy has dominated headlines for literally 25 years. I think people are, it's almost driven people crazy, but cool interview, man. It was dope listening to him sit down.
Great guy.
Yeah, I didn't agree with everything he said. Like, that comment I thought about Giannis was stupid.
Listen, here's what I heard, or here's what I saw. We bitch at guys when they don't say something. Then we bitch at them for what they say.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so for me, I took away from this, watching the media guys chase after LeBron James's cheese and his crumbs, and watching the rats in my business fall all over themselves because LeBron recognized you.
Yeah.
It was so iconic in showing you how powerful he is. He's right. The one thing that you got, and by the way, ESPN did, when they had it on the network, they were muting it, jumping in, and they ruined it on the network because LeBron was.
I watch on YouTube. I'm a YouTube guy.
Oh, I get it now. And everyone was complaining because you know why? Again, you have the woke environment at Disney / ESPN. And when a guy says something like that about Windhorst, who I know from Miami, and for him to go, that guy's getting bigger every year. And he goes, this guy's pretending to be my buddy. And I've never seen a guy call people out. I made this comment about him, Zander. Check this out. I made a random comment about LeBron James. I want to show you this. And I gave kudos to Pat for doing it, but check this out. This is what I wrote. I've never heard LeBron do an interview like this. This is effing awesome. I got 41,000 responses.
I saw that on Twitter. Yeah.
Reviews on that.
That thing blew up.
Just because I mentioned them to what you were talking about. LeBron, in this era of social media, he has been the Lady Gaga, who I think is a brilliant marketer, and how you handle social media. I don't give a shit about her music. I'm talking about somebody who knows how to, like Taylor Swift. These people are gurus on how to get views on what they do, how to get followers. They're brilliant. He is the athlete of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
For a guy never to have hurt his brand to a massive extent, never had an Eagle Colorado situation like Kobe, never had a problem with advertisers, never had it.
Nothing.
He was a poor kid from Akron, Ohio, turned himself into a billionaire.
It's almost not believable how well he's handled everything in his life.
Yes. If you were going to make a class at Temple or Villanova, and you were going to have the blueprint of what you wanted a superstar to do to expand and make a brand, he is your guy.
It's pretty incredible, man.
Basketball-wise, I'm still a Jordan guy, and I'll always be a Jordan and Magic guy. However, for a guy in today's, like you mentioned something about Dak all the time. Dak is the perfect example of how to conduct yourself and handle yourself, being a centerpiece on one of the most exposed teams and one of the most visible professional sports teams on the planet. Dak Prescott does a fucking amazing job on how he conducts himself. He's never in trouble. He's the face of that franchise, and people around the league revere him. They have great respect. I have great respect for Dak. Again, winning and all that other stuff, that's a different conversation. But as the blueprint of being a face of a franchise, I think, Zander, guess who? I think Jalen is doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
I think Jalen has become that centerpiece. I don't like, you know what? He's a little quirky in how he handles his conversations and his press conferences. But at the end of the day, is that a guy you want representing your franchise, Jalen Hurts? Of course it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it.
I mean, all right. I want to do an exercise with you here if we can for a couple minutes.
Yeah, let's
then we'll get to the supers here. I know you got a different opinion of the replay. I'm calling these guys like the movie, The Replacements.
Uh-oh.
Here are the replacements for the Philadelphia Eagles in who they are right now on March 27th, not who you, Zander Krause, want them to be on September 8th and February 9th,
Right.
2026.
Gotcha.
All right. Right guard, Tyler Steen. What do you make of him?
Unproven. Decent in when he's been on the field, but a long way to go if he wants to be anything close to replacing Mekhi Becton.
Inconsistent, will we say there too a little bit?
Good word. Yep. Now, it's great. It was the first 2 years of his career. Players obviously have to, develop, but this is the first time he's going to be thrusted into a bigger role. Remember, he was supposed to win this job last year. Mekhi Becton was not brought in to be the right guard. He was not. And Tyler Steen was supposed to be. And the minute they moved over Mekhi Becton, everything in that room changed. And Jeff said, wait a second. And Tyler didn't win that job or really even come close. So he couldn't beat out a former tackle who converted to a guard. Tyler Steen himself is a former tackle. Is he ready to play guard full-time in the NFL? I don't know about that. So he's a big question mark, but I feel better about it. We signed back why am I blanking on his name? Who's the guy we signed back today? Matt Pryor. We brought in Kenyon Green. You signed Kendall Lamb. You have Tyler Steen. You have who's the guy they drafted last year in the 5th? Trevor Keegan. And you're going to draft another guy in this draft. That's like 6 dudes. One of them has to win the job. One of them has to win the swing tackle, and the rest of them are reserves, and one will get cut. I feel pretty good about Jeff Stalons getting one of those guys of 6 to be his competent right guard. No?
March 27th. How do you feel? Okay, here's how I feel about the room. Somebody brought something up. Sills, when you guys down at Miami, and you could probably comment on this too when you were at Alabama and you saw this. They said, Sills, don't you think when you guys had the heir apparents, those guys were ready to step in and step up? Yeah, well, I had Cortez Kennedy and Russell Merrill behind me. Those are first-round picks.
Yeah, right.
Tyler Steen and Moro Jomo and some of these guys, these aren't first-round picks. These are guys who were not players of that caliber. So we had massive first-round guys sitting behind us. And by the way, we'll read all your supers. I say this about your room on March 27th. They're in the land of I don't know. Now, the one thing I will say about the position of right guard, it's not been a problem. Because the coach has been able to keep that thing afloat at that position.
I agree.
And it's because the other 4 guys are so talented.
Remember, we had the same question last year, Sells.
Completely.
Even when we knew Becton was starting, we didn't know what he was going to be.
Absolutely not. He was a colossal disaster in New York with the Jets.
We thought, hey, do we have a weakness on the guard? Even going into week 1, we thought that.
Absolutely.
So, like I said,
even after week 6, I said, can he keep it up?
Right. And I'm not sold on Steen, but I am sold on Stalons. So I think you're going to be all right there. They got a lot of. Do you not
agree? If Steen doesn't win that job, there's a problem there, and that this is even Jeff Stoutland couldn't fix him.
Well, I don't know because I think that's fair to assume, but I'd want to talk to Jeff because Jeff might be like, hey, he'd be a good tackle, but he's just not cut out to be a guard. Maybe he would work better on that outside, on that open space. He's been, that lateral movement he's been relying. He played both left and right between Vanderbilt and Alabama. Like he's got a lot of tackle experience, and he hasn't been as good at the guard. Maybe he could still be your Fred Johnson, but as a guard, I think he'd probably close the chapter on that.
Left defensive end, Moro Jomo, and these are the replacements I'm talking. His former 7th-round pick. He's got to replace a $26 million talented value guy in Milton Williams. Here's who I'd say he is right now on March 27th. I don't know. I saw him play a lot in the substitute role. I've never seen him in a frontline role. And once again, here we are, Zander. We're back in the same question marks that we were a year ago with Milton. Here we go again. We're back in that same conversation again. Again, my problem is that's not a certain – 2 positions right now are not certainties so far in the replacements. The right guard, and do we agree? The left defensive end, I don't know.
Yeah.
Are we just to assume Clint's going to make that right again like he did a year ago?
I don't think it's fair to assume that. I mean, I think it's fair to wonder it. I mean, I have confidence he's going to be able to do it, but you're hitting on, you're turning garbage to gold a couple of times in a couple of years. That's tough to do. From a Moro Ojomo standpoint, I was trying to find the stat that I saw, and I'm not saying that's gonna prove everything or it's gonna show you that he's gonna be a great player, but I will say there were some very positive numbers on him in terms of pass rush win rate and having success against linemen. I thought the thing that makes me feel the best about Moro Ojomo moving forward for next year is what? He passed the eye test last year. When he was on the field, he looked good. When he was on the field, he wasn't a liability. When I saw him out there, I saw him making plays. He wasn't the greatest player on the field, but he passed the eye test. I don't know if he's going to be Milton Williams, but I think he's going to be competent enough, Moro Ojomo. So I feel good about that. When you go to the edge, I'd like to bring this up for you, and I know you don't love stuff like this, and I'm not mad at you for not liking it, all right? But I do want to bring up this thing for you and just show you why I feel a little bit better about Joshua Uche than you do, okay? And I know he hasn't been perfect, and he's maybe a shot in the dark, if you will, but I like this player. I think Vic Fangio is going to pull it out of this guy. So if you look here, in 22 Sills, that was the year he had those 12 sacks. He was graded out at a near 90 pass rush grade. Now, I know it's PFF.
Let me give you a little more insight. When teams were calling the Patriots, they're talking about him being a high-end free agent and maybe potentially moving him. And a lot of teams called the Patriots, wanted to know his availability.
Right. Now, that's a high grade for a pass rusher. And my estimation isn't that Josh Uche is going to be Nolan Smith or going to be a great player. It's that Vic Fangio is going to be able to get something out of him, especially on, pass plays, certified pass rushing downs. And I think he's going to be fine. I mean, even his grade as a pass rusher, he ebbed and flowed a little bit more, Sills. But like Azeez Ojulari, a lot of people are high on him. He was this from his career. Graded out. Even his stats with the injuries. He never had a moment where the grade was through the roof. And what I mean by that is the potential within him. I believe it's within Uche because when he had his best season, he played that good. So the ebb was like this. I think Vic can take him back here. With Uche or with Ojulari, you gotta get him to go like this. With Uche, you got to get him back to where he once was. I think Uche could be pretty good.
See, I happen to think that Azeez is my prediction for him to be the impact guy of all the signs. And I'll tell you what you just said. Would you rather have a guy go like this, as you said, Zander? Would you rather have a guy go in these seesaw fucking ups and downs? Or would you rather have a guy who you could put a game plan in and you can find a situational moment where he can play either as a situational pass rusher where you could play on first and second and third down? Would you rather have a guy who gives you the level production, what he is, or would you rather have a guy you have no idea what that guy's going to look like game in and game
out?
Ready?
Here's my answer, and you tell me if it's bullshit, and I rode the fence. If it's a starter and an every down guy, I want what you just did. If it's a guy I want to pull the most out of in a reserve role for specific moments on that defense, and I got Vic Fangio to do it, I think I'd want the highs. Because
so you want to turn Joshua into a situational pass rusher, not an every down guy.
He's not an every down guy. Yeah.
Okay, well that's a different role for him.
Right, which is why though I like the fluctuation, because I think if you get that top, not saying you're gonna.
See, I think the fluctuation came from him not playing well on the run and him playing better in the pass rush.
Right. So if you can isolate him and it get 5-6,
that's a better team. Him being on a better team.
Right. Now you're piecemealing the loss of Josh Sweat, but
it's okay.
You might have to do that, right?
That's okay. That's okay. And
now, here's the question. Who's the guy, who's the edge rusher on this team that can play the rundowns? Nolan Smith has proven, despite the size, he's good against the run. or not a liability against the run. Who's on the other side? It's 1st and 10. Who's on the other side?
Let me do one thing here. I want to answer that. I'm going to tell you about Nolan here, and I'll agree with you. And I'll tell you here. The thing that shows me about Moro Ojomo is the amount of reps that Vic gave him last year. That of all the stats that you talked about, Vic gave him those reps because he earned them. Those are the things he earned, and he earned an opportunity to start. That tells me a lot about how the coaching staff sees him. Nolan Smith. My question with him is, he's on the weak side for a reason. Vic put him on the weak side for a reason, dude. You're not going to line that guy up in any way possible. You are not going to put him on a tight end. You are just not going to put him on a tight end.
No, you're not.
And he will he be able to go 600 plus snaps? We haven't seen that yet. I don't know. Is he going to give you? Remember something. People think this, Zander, because you up the volume of play, that's going to increase more production. It's not. You go back in production when you go and have more reps. You think because you give somebody more opportunities that they're going to be a better ball player. There's a lot more intangibles that go with that. Who's playing next to you? How good are you? Is your offense keeping time of possession? Are you on and off the field? Do you get 3 and outs? There's so much more that goes into just whether or not you could play a 3 down. I say this about Smith. I mean, like you said of the edge rushers, Bryce Huff right now is penciled in as your strong side linebacker. I don't know what he is.
He can't stop the run.
Right. Well, that's who they got on the depth chart right now, penciled in as a starter, is Bryce Huff.
It's funny. You know, we lose Josh Sweat, and a lot of people think pass rush. We need to replace pass rush. I feel like we're going to be all right in the pass rush. Where are we going to stop the run? And then the other follow-up to that would be, with Josh Sweat out the door, Big Sills, did Jordan Davis just become more valuable because you're replacing an every down edge rusher who was good against the run and piecemealing it with guys, and now you need a good force, a stabilizing force against the run because you're not getting it out of your edge rushers. Now, I think Nolan's pretty good against the run. I think he graded out pretty good. I have to go and look, but I wonder what that does for Jordan's value, and I wonder what, the Eagles' plan is, again, on running downs. Or, who is your edge rusher over there? Who do you think it will be? Do you think it'll be Jalyx Hunt?
No, I think it's going to be the kid they draft.
All right. It might be Bryce Huff if they don't draft a guy in round 1.
No way. If you got Bryce Huff out there on the edge, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
That guy showed me he's a liability on the field on 1st and 2nd down.
Dude, but here's what you're looking at. If you have Nolan on one side, you're looking at Aziz, Uche, Huff, or Jalyx Hunt. Those are 4 guys. I believe you could get 10 sacks out of those 4 guys. I don't know if you can get a run stopper out of those 4 guys.
Are you going to get a guy who could play the run out of those 4 guys?
That's what I just said. Right. I don't know. I think Jalyx honestly is the best upside because of his history at safety. He understands more spots on the defense. His football IQ, I think, is a little higher from a more broad perspective.
You're going to miss Sweat, Milton on the run game more than the pass rush game. You didn't have a dominant edge rusher or really a dominant pass rush this year. You're kind of in the middle of the pack, dude. You won football games because you stopped the run.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be more of an – I think Vic, if you ask Vic what's more of a problem for him right now, I think that's not a problem but a concern for him. Getting more pressure, or do we have the guys to stop the run? Do we have enough depth? Remember something, too, like I mentioned yesterday. Moro Ojomo was the swing guy in there.
Is Jordan Davis's agent listening to us right now? Because if I'm him, I'm calling and saying, oh, yeah, you want to let – who's stopping the run for you guys?
And then Howie turns around and goes, you really don't think I'm paying $55 million for 2 dudes, do you?
And Jordan says, good, have fun getting Saquon.
I agree. I think that, hey, and by the way, if this guy Ojomo turns out to be Milton, so in 2 years you got
I think
back.
there's a better chance of that than anything else.
And all of a sudden you got to turn around and go like this. Am I paying that guy 30? Where you getting that money from?
You're not paying him.
Hey, by the
You
way,
got 2 years with him, but you're not paying him.
okay, well, let me ask you this then. If you were going to pay Jordan Davis $13-14 million and pick a 3-year option up on him, and then the 5th-year option, then you're going to give him a 3-year deal, and you're going to pay your boy $40 million. Surely somebody comes off the offensive payroll. Who is it?
Absolutely. There's no doubt. It's 0%.
You know why? Because if they took guys away from not signing on defense this year and allowed a $20 million defensive end in Josh Sweat and a $26 million Milton Williams walk out the building, you don't think they'll make a move on A.J. Brown in 2 years or 1 year? You're crazy. They will.
Let me show something, though. All right? Because I was thinking about this a little bit, and there's no doubt that something's going to have to give. It's not going to work perfect.
It won't be an O-lineman.
But hear me out, though. Ready? Jalen Carter just finished up his 2nd season. All right? He's going to be due for an extension next offseason. So about this time next year, we'll probably already have paid Jalen Carter. They'll probably already have given him the extension deal by this time.
You can start January 8th, that talk.
Right, exactly. So they'll probably get that thing done January right away, maybe right after the season, depending on what they do in the playoffs.
Yeah, because you don't want to let the market continue to escalate.
Right. But hear me out. Ready? So you're going to play this season out on his contract. The cap is up to $280. You give him the deal next year. Remember, he's still going to have year 4. He's still going to have potentially a Devontae Smith-style contract that Howie can put the 5th-year option into the deal to keep your cap hit and your money hit super low in those first couple of years. Now, hear me out. After this season, the cap will go to what? 308, probably 304, 305, somewhere in there. After next season, which you could still be cheap with Carter, after the next 2 seasons, you're going to be up to 320, 325, 330. Then on the season where the real Jalen Carter money starts hitting, you could be up to 340, 350. Now, again, that doesn't mean you're not going to have to get rid of somebody, but I think because you're early on Carter and you're going to pay him early, you're going to be able to push so much of that back that you can keep somebody. Somebody's going to have to go because, remember, Jalen's going to get a new deal, all sorts of other Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell. That money's going to get eaten up quick, but I'm saying you are looking at a world where $40 million sounds like a lot, but $40 million on a $350 million payroll might not hit the same.
See, I don't think Howie looks at it like that, though, Zander, because he proved it this year. He proved that this year they had the cap space to sign one of them guys, but they chose to move off of Gardner Johnson. To me, it comes down to priority and how you want to delegate your cash.
Yeah,
is how he does it.
About cash, not cap.
Oh, which one? Gardner Johnson, the Josh Sweat, or the Milton?
Well, all of them.
About cash,
right?
Okay,
because like I just said,
pay them guys though.
But in the same world that I just said, you can push out those cap hits with Carter. What you're going to do to make him okay with that is you're going to give him $100 million deposited next week when he signs that deal. That's what I mean when I say cash. So the cash is going to hit Carter next year, which is why you're seeing the Eagles go, oh, get rid of CJ. And no, don't pay Milton. Don't pay Sweat. Don't play. Mekhi Becton got $6.7 million guaranteed sales.
I know.
They didn't even want to go that.
I know.
But that shows you they're prioritizing cash. I think Howie will work out the cap space as it comes.
We will read all the super chats. Hey, Bob Brown just posted something. I want to read it because this goes back a little bit, and I'm going to deviate back a little bit to Mike Green because we had a spirited conversation about if he falls down, and I think he's going to fall because of some of the accusations. And remember something too, Zander. If you're that agent for the kid from Boston College, you want bad pub on this guy. Why? Elevates your guy, drops this guy. Okay, that means more money for the agent. So this is Bob Brown here, where we have a lot of respect for here. Report on Green from a reliable contact is that the real concern thing is that there's literally no records or anything making it possible for the issue to be debunked through due diligence. Yeah. That's really awful for him.
It's a lot of the things I heard.
You can't fight
There's nothing
allegations.
There. Right. There's nothing there. It hasn't been proved.
You imagine that you can't defend yourself.
Right. It's a big fat gray area. It's brutal. And honestly, it's the worst case for Mike.
It is. Because the more you comment on it, the more you look guilty.
Yeah.
And if you don't comment on it, you look guilty.
That's not good for the player. That's unfortunate because that's not good for the player. I will say, and again, I don't want to act like if there is a victim that they don't exist. I don't want to put Mike Green in a box and say he's this or woman be a criminal. But if all that is true, all right, this whole thing sounds a little fuddy to me. Just my instinct doesn't mean it's right. If he falls and the Eagles like him, I'd probably take him. I just don't get the whole thing where it's like, all right, all these things, he's this bad of a dude and there's nothing. What do you mean there's nothing? That's a red flag to me. That's a siren going off to me.
If he's at 25, would you drop some nuggets from 26 to get him? Huge need.
I guess it's going to depend on the due diligence the team does, but something about the whole thing smells fishy. I'm with you, Pat Ryan.
Me too, man. I don't know, man. Hey, you took a gamble on Jalen Carter. And I get that that's not in the same room. I get it. But
remember, Big Dom.
You got to trust your culture, don't you?
Big Dom, in that case, Big Dom could call the Athens Police Department. Big Dom could call the Georgia Athletic Department. Big Dom could call Kirby Smart. Big Dom could call the dude who was in the car with Jalen Carter. Big Dom could do research on that. If there's nothing out there on Green, what can you do?
Let me tell you how the security works in the league. The majority of the guys that are at the NFL offices in Park Avenue, these are ex-FBI guys. And what these guys do, they have so many resources that they go down and they do their due diligence on every guy and every 300-plus prospect that potentially could be drafted on April 26th. These are FBI agents that go out, look for serial killers that are looking for any kind of bad pub on you because the organizations are investing hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars in your name. So it's not just like this. You know how you do a background check when you're joining a company?
Right.
That's not what this is. These are FBI agents.
Yeah, they're being
FBI guys.
People are looking for information. They're talking to they're going deep. I agree with you. But I don't know. That whole thing with him is unfortunate. You know,
it's fishy.
It's fishy. It's very fishy. It's very fishy. It's on it. I'm not going to lie to everybody. It's a little tough to talk about because people will pull what you say and
of course,
put you in a box. And it's like, I'm not trying to say there's no victim. I'm not trying to say Mike is this. I'm trying to analyze it objectively. The thing is fishy. But
here's Zander. You know what's funny? Because you make an opinion like that, hey man, me making an opinion on right and wrong and looking at making sure that if there's a victim, if there's not a victim, what we're talking about here is a potential case. Is there really anything to it?
Yeah.
And if people don't like that people want to, and said just do this, they'd rather just indict the kid without doing anything about it and let it lie there. That's my problem. I don't want to let it lie there. I think it's an injustice if you sit there and let it lie there.
Right.
I don't subscribe to that.
I'm with you.
And that doesn't mean I don't have feelings for a potential victim.
Right. I'm with you 100%.
That's asinine to think that.
Right.
You know?
If you're gonna do it, if something's happened, then follow through with it. Right. I mean, where are the charges? Where are some of these things? Right. I don't. The whole thing to me.
Shit, if you could go back after Diddy, after 15 years, you can go get this guy too.
Yeah, that's true. Let's get to some super chats. You ready? Or you got more?
Got it, brother.
I don't have to go, so if you have more topics.
Oh, no, I was going to ask you two more.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's go.
What do you mean? I like Tristan McCullum to win this job over Sidney Brown more than you guys do.
Yeah,
you know why?
I think you're
because
wrong.
Vic goes to him more.
He went to him more, but Sidney was coming off the injury.
Well, here, let me show you something about Sidney, why I don't like him. Everything that Cooper DeJean is what Sidney Brown should be. a better ball hawk, a guy who can run to the ball with great pursuit angles, doesn't overrun, great hitter. Because he plays kind of like a safety position in that nickel. It's more of a safety.
I know exactly what you're saying.
You want that safety position to look like. You want it to look like Cooper. He has no characteristics whatsoever of Cooper DeJean in any way whatsoever in how he plays the game. He over pursues. He's hurt. He's not a sure tackler. That's who you want at safety when you had some of the best tacklers last year. You want to put that guy back there, really?
You know what that is?
I haven't seen him at all exhibit where he is anything close to that. Tristan McCullum, Vic trusts him.
Right. Here's how I look at this. I think what you said is a good point. Sidney Brown, and you brought up the Cooper DeJean comp. Cooper DeJean is uber athletic, and his instinct is even better than his athleticism. And that's why you see him make so many plays, like Sileo just said, taking off the lanes, taking off the end. He's football smart. He's IQ smart. He's got high football IQ. Knows where to be, knows when to react, how to react, what time. You can be athletic and not have those things. And I think that's what you've seen with Sidney Brown, where he has all the athleticism.
Yep.
Does he have the instinct? Does he have the eye and the knack for reacting in split seconds on a defense where these are NFL guys, man? One split second out of position, you're toast.
I don't know if he plays with technique.
Now, Tristan McCullum probably maybe has better instinct with lesser athleticism.
And plays with better technique.
Yeah.
See, to me, I think Vic is attracted to guys who play with technique. Zach Bond, dude, is a better athlete than he thought, but plays with proper technique. I mean, every one of those guys that played on defense last year, you know who the only guy was that really was expendable, in my opinion, that didn't play with great technique was Gardner Johnson.
Yeah, he was one of the
He would overrun plays all the time, and he's a streaky ball player.
Yeah, when we got beat last year in the pass game, a lot of times it was on CJ.
Do you know one of the things that separates Q from one of the better corners that I've seen in a long time? His technique is so good.
Fundamental.
Everything he does, he looks like a 3-4 year pro already.
Yeah.
The way he plays. You know what made Slay great? Slay could lose speed. But you know what made him great? Here's what I loved about him. If he got beat deep, he's going to reach out and hold you, and he's going to get a 10-yard or 15-yard penalty. He's going to do that instead of giving up the top 25 play.
Right.
And they're going to learn to live another play. And that's so smart. He'd rather give up the 15-yarder than the TD. You got a guy like that in your football team right now that can play like that in the moment and go, hey, what's the lesser of the evils? I'll take the 15-yard penalty. I'm not giving up the explosion play. That's why Vic goes, that guy's like a guinea wine. Okay? That guy just ages like that. All right, two more last ones here before we get it here. And I just said Sydney. So what do you make it? I'm going to say this to you. Of all the pass rushers they have, the guy who I think has the most upside is Jalyx Hunt. I can't believe I'm saying this. I hated that pick. I hated it. I just hated it. However, he looks like a late bloomer to me, and I'll explain. So he must have been a late bloomer in high school because of the non-scholarships. Now, he did go to Colgate, and if anyone knows about Colgate, that's like a 7%.
That's a tough school.
You don't just go, hey, let me give you a sign up on the internet and go to Colgate. That's not it. That's a tough place to get into. So he was playing in the Ivy League. Okay, so that tells me a little bit about his acronym and how much smart he is that he can.
No, he went to Cornell, which is even better.
Okay, which Cornell? Look at the admissions.
Yeah,
guarantee it's 4.
My grandfather went to Cornell. I'm not a Cornell. I would never. All right, I'm in Alabama. I don't go to schools like Cornell.
Somebody said something to me. Miami had a 17% admittance. I was like, yeah, well, I had a.
It's pretty tough. It's a good school, man, Miami.
I didn't realize it was 17% to get in. Someone goes, Sills, you went to a school at 17%. I was like, yeah, well, I didn't get in because of my smarts and my reading. That's for sure. Some of you already know that. But I think, again, you put in 10 more pounds on this guy, 6'3", 258 pounds.
Dude,
is that the guy? Is there somebody in the draft that you think
he's not done yet either? Did you see that picture of him with Brandon Graham? He's Huge compared to Brandon Graham. Now would it give him a chance to grow into his NFL body, plus his speed, plus his athleticism, plus what he knows from former playing and coverage at safety? I think you're right on him, man. I think you're right on him.
Think there's somebody at 32 that's going to be in the draft at edge?
Wait a second.
That can give you more.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Let me open up this. Let me go back to the Big Sills bold predictions.
I said Jalyx Hunt would have more sacks.
Number 6, Jalyx Hunt, more sacks than Nolan Smith at 6.5. So the bigger topic here that you're burying is that you believe Nolan Smith is going to be a trash can this year.
No, I think he's going to be – I don't think he's going to hold up.
Come on, Sills, don't fence ride.
Oh, no, I don't think he's going to hold up. I don't think he's going to play 600 snaps for you this year. I just don't. I think Vic's concern is that he's undersized. This kid's not. How you doing? A pick I hated. Kid from Cornell, the home of, if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the greatest goaltenders in the history of the Montreal Canadiens played there. Ken, what's his name? Dryden.
Ken Dryden? Did he play at Cornell?
I think Ken Dryden played at Cornell.
Ken Dryden was on. He did play at Cornell. What a pull by Sileo. I love that. That's my favorite thing about Sileo. Motherfucker knows everything about everybody in every sport. How does he pull Cornell on Ken Dryden? What a good pull. Ken Dryden.
Ken Dryden was the analyst
on the Miracle Game. Yeah, baby. Great pull by Sills.
Hey, you want to hear a crazy story about him? So they elevated him for the playoffs. Ken Dryden's the only player in NHL history, get this, Zander, to win the Conn Smythe, win the championship. Then the following year, he was the Rookie of the Year.
That's amazing. That's amazing intel right there on Ken Dryden. He played in Cornell in 68, 69.
I think there's an illness to me that I know that.
That is incredible. I love it. And he was great on the call in Miracle in 1980 on the Olympics. Yes, he was.
One of the greatest goaltenders him and Patrick Waugh are probably the greatest goaltenders in Montreal Canadiens.
Okay, that's fine. Montreal Canadiens history, that's fine.
What, you don't like him when he was with the Avalanche?
No, I like him. I thought you were going to say he's one of the greatest goalies of all time, and you weren't going to put one guy on the list that is the greatest goalie of all time.
The guy in New Jersey
is the greatest goalie of all time.
It's not better as an athlete than Dominik Hasek.
Okay, that is a different equation. That is a different conversation than goalie. Dominik Hasek was unbelievable. Dominik Hasek did not bring to the ice what Marty Brodeur did.
Okay.
Marty Brodeur was a third defenseman.
Got it? Okay. Here, well, let's do this. The guy that was in Edmonton won 4 cups in Edmonton. Okay. His name is what's that? Played in his golf tournament. Oh my God. The guy played in his golf tournament. Hextall was great. Won the Conn Smythe. Grant Fuhrer won 4 cups. Thank you, Denny. Grant Fuhrer won 4 cups. Billy Smith for the Islanders won 4 cups with the New York Islanders. So when we talk about the greatest goaltenders in recent memory here, I'll rank them for you here. Top 3 goaltenders in the last 40 years.
Well, that's a different combo. The last 40 years?
Yeah.
Well, Ken Dryden's got 5 Stanley Cups.
Okay. Last 4. Okay, let's go 20 years.
But when did he play? He wasn't the last.
He got done in the mid-80s.
Okay. Because he didn't play that long, Ken Dryden.
Hey, the last 25 years. Let's go here. Let's go 20 years. The best goaltenders in the last 20 years. There's no doubt.
It's not Dominik. Boulevard, it's not Dominik.
Hey.
I love Dominik Hasek. He's 2 or 3, depending on who you talk to. He's not number 1.
What about the guy who was in Pittsburgh? The guy who's now in Las Vegas.
Fleury?
He's got 4 cups. What's that?
He's unbelievable, but he's not a top goalie of all time.
Andre Fleury.
Marc-Andre Fleury. Yeah, he's amazing. I mean, I said when Pittsburgh moved on from him, I said that was too early. Dumb move. Then he went and won a cup in Vegas, and they thought they could replace him, and they never replaced him. The guy is not as good who's there now. I'm blanking on his name, the goalie in Pittsburgh. But, yeah, Marc-Andre Fleury's great. I don't think he'd be – I think Henrik Lundqvist would probably come in higher than Marc-Andre. I know he doesn't have the cups.
I know. What a shame.
But
what a
no
shame.
cups.
I know. What a
Mike
shame.
Richter, awesome. Loved Mike Richter.
Mike Richter was great with the Rangers. He was great for that year, too, with the Rangers.
You named a couple. Ken Dryden, Grant Fuhr, they're good. Bernie Perrant. Somebody brought up Bernie Perrant, and that's a good one. I mean, I think the undisputed top 3 are Brodeur, Patrick Waugh, and Dominik Hasek.
Made Brodeur, here's what separates Brodeur. Name me the top big-time scorer on that Devils team. Can you remember? Or not? Who was the big scorer on that? They didn't have
Patrick Elias back in the day. They had Zach Parise. That was later.
Yeah, but wait, they were the greatest blue.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
They were blue line and goaltending, and they had a bunch of dudes. Claude Lemieux,
right?
They weren't. And again, I never knew that team that was in. I'm talking hockey. I can't believe it. That team in Colorado with Pierre Lacroix, who built that team out there. They ended up bringing over a bunch of the guys from Pronger. That Avalanche team was great, but bro, that Devils team really nobody.
Right. I was right on, by the way. The leading goal scorer on that team was Patrick Elias. I knew I nailed that. Jamie Langenbrunner. You remember Jamie Langenbrunner?
I do.
How about this one? One of my favorite players when I was a kid. Scott Gomez. He was great on that team.
Dude,
to your point, yeah, they weren't NHL legends.
No, they weren't. They didn't have Hall of Fame like wingers or centers. What they did have was my greatest ass kicker of all time, Scott Stevens, man.
Yeah, baby. Hey, Brian Giunta. I remember Brian Giunta.
Hey, let me tell you this, man. Scott Stevens, I swear to you, Zander, I had that as a screensaver on my computer forever when he laid out Lindros.
Right. Dude, Scott Stevens is the boss.
Hey, let's read these papers,
one of the reasons that the Devils were so good defensively, Sills, was because of Marty's ability to clear the puck, use his stick, and almost be a third. And I know I'm a goalie, so I appreciate, and I know not everybody who watches hockey would appreciate that. They like the flashy saves and some of that stuff. I get it. Brodeur's ability with his stick was unbelievable.
Yeah.
As a goalie, as somebody, it was unbelievable. And one of the best things, I mean, when you're in hockey and you're in defensive zone, you got to get that puck out. You got to get the puck out of the zone. You got to stop the forecheck. Chip. It's what my dad used to teach me. Get the puck out of the zone. Nobody was better at that than Brodeur. He made Scott Stevens, Niedermeyer, all of those defensemen way better.
One of the greatest things also about that Devils organization was Lou Lamoriello. That guy just would find, and they had so many great players down on their farm system. Right. They evaluated great. Dude, man, you talk about a general manager that knew what he was doing. Lou Lamoriello was absolutely one of the best. That's why when you see right now with Torts being fired, John Tortorella, you got to remember something. I knew when he said the comment last night, and I texted him. I said, he goes, I didn't want to. I go, he said, he goes like this. This is somebody, and one thing I don't want to do. You got to remember something. When Torts talks like that, that's not what he means. However, when you're losing as many games as the Flyers have lost, that's not going to resonate with Pierre, and that's not going to resonate with the guys like that. So you got a lot of young players, and they hear a coach say that. That's why he's not the fit. He's a guy that you have to have veteran guys around that could take that and understand that. When you got young players and you're making a transition like the Flyers are right now, Torch is not the guy, dude. He's just not the. You have to have veteran. You know why? The Lightning won the Stanley Cup. They got Dave Anderchuk in the building for him. That's when they went and got Dave Anderchuk. They had veteran guys that were around.
Look, I know people love the Flyers. I've never been a Flyers fan because of what you're talking about. By the way, with the goaltending, they can fire Torch. They can fire the next coach. They fired the last 4 coaches. They're going to keep firing coaches. Go and get a goalie. And they had Bob, and they signed Briz. Remember, I'm young. I'm a goalie when I was young. I was growing up. I'm looking at Brodeur in New Jersey. All right. And I look at the Flyers. They had the best goalie they had. I mean, I think it was Robert Esch. Have they had a goalie as good as Robert Esch since Esch? I mean, they had Lawton. I think he was the goalie when they lost to the Blackhawks. I think that was 2009. I know they had Bob, and they mentioned they got rid of him to pay Brizgal. Like, they've made every wrong move at goalie, and I just hated them because I thought they neglected the position.
I just got some intel. The Chargers are trying to trade for Dallas Goddard.
Take him.
They want to put Goddard in that Charger offense for him.
Be a good fit for him, too. He'd get the ball a lot. He'd be a good fit for Goddard. And it's the AFC, so I don't really give a shit. What are we doing? Because right now we're in a position where the defense is getting reworked with talent. You don't know how good that defense is going to be. Now, if you listen to Big Z and my bold predictions, they'll be top 5 in the NFL. But you need your offense to be great again next year. All right, now you're going to get rid of Goddard. What, I don't know what that –
Fifth or 6th round picks for him.
Yeah, they're gonna. It's gonna be a 5th or maybe a conditional 5th.
Conditional 5th that turns to a 4. Turns to a 4. Yeah, something like that. A 4.
Why do they like him? Richter 100% went to Northwood Siglord. Yes, he did.
Richter's great.
And he went to Northwood School. I know because that school is in Lake Placid. Siglord. Richter, come on, man.
Richter, American goaltender too.
And he was born in Abington Township, Mike Richter, right where I am as we speak.
Do you know no American has ever won the Hart Trophy?
Really?
Who? Name me one guy, one American that's won the Hart.
I guess McKinnon's not. Austin Matthews.
Oh, Matthews. Okay. How long? What year did he win that?
22 and Patrick Kane in 16. Taylor Hall in 18.
That's right. Okay.
Sileo, what are you talking about? Is Taylor Hall American?
No. There's only been 2.
Taylor Hall, that's an American name.
Wait a minute. 2 Americans in what, 170 years?
Patrick Kane. Is Corey Perry American? I think he's American.
Grant Fuhr's not American.
What about Joe Thornton? No, Joe Thornton's Canadian. Corey Perry.
2 guys in 200 years.
Corey Perry's a fucking Canadian too. All these are Canadian. You see why I hate Canada? Because I grew up loving hockey. All these fuckers are Canadian.
Oh, that's right. Matthews won it. I forgot that. Okay. Yeah. But that's the first time since what, 1890? When the NHL was started, 1895? Only one American has won the thing in like.
That's not true. We just named 2, I thought.
No, you didn't name 2. You named 1.
Austin Matthews.
And who else?
Patrick Kane.
Oh, yeah, the kid from Chicago.
Yeah. Come on. He was money when he was in Chicago. Patty Kane was so good in Chicago.
Who was in net for them in Chicago?
Hey, what was that dude? That big Michael? No, what was that big? He was big. He was tall. Real tall.
Who was that guy in Chicago?
The ugly-ass pad.
Goaltender in Chicago. God, I forget that guy.
I'll get it. Anthony Niemi? Was that it?
Yeah.
Corey Crawford. That's the big guy. Anthony Niemi was good.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, they beat the Flyers in the Stanley Cup.
Absolutely. All right, Zander, let's do these.
Corey Crawford, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, Taylor Hall.
Let's do these supers here, man.
Good hockey talk. I love great. I like the offseason because we can kick around some other shit too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, Kelly Lindbergh was the truth. Rest in peace. Black Baptist, what's up, my brother? I appreciate you, man.
That's really nice.
He says Jacob's unfiltered approach separates you guys. Considering all the draft picks Philly has coming up in 2 years, if they land them, could we be a dynasty?
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and say hell yeah.
If you get kids, here's what you're going to start doing, Black Baptist. You're going to start taking some of these draft picks, and once you tool up your defensive side of the ball, you're going to start making it younger on offense. Your left side of your offense right now Zander, you could have your left guard and your left tackle for the next decade, along with your center for the next decade. Okay? AJ, you're going to have to replace. And dude, how many years are you looking to replace Saquon? When do you start addressing that?
2 years. I mean, you're gonna play this year. You're gonna see what he does this
True or
year.
false? Do you think Saquon Barkley's on this team in 3 years?
In 3 years? That's hard to say, especially for a running back. He's 27. He'll be on the other side of 30 by that point. I think if you're a betting man, you probably say Saquon's gone in 3 years.
That's right. Okay, so you're gonna have that is a critical part of the engine. Okay, you'll be able
to. I think you'll be able to do something there. I mean, part of the reason we haven't had a Saquon is because I don't think they've ever wanted a Saquon.
If you don't have Saquon Barkley on the team, how does that affect Hurts in 4 years?
Well, where will Hurts be in terms of his development as a quarterback at the line of scrimmage, in terms of reading defenses, remember this was his first year doing that, and I thought Week 20 in the Super Bowl was a different player than Week 4 in the year when it comes to line of scrimmage. I thought he got way better at it last year. Where will he be in 4 years? I mean, I think the team will be reworked. It'll look different, but 3 years is a tough time frame because, like, I was thinking about this with the Chiefs. Do you think the Chiefs are about to go through? Do you remember the gap that Brady had when he won 3 and then he had a long gap? I think it was 8 or 9 years until he won again.
10.
Right, 10 years. So I'm not saying the Chiefs will be that long, but are they going to go through that retooling phase? 3 years, you could say Philly might need to go through that, depending on. I mean, that's A.J. Brown's going to be 30. Devontae Smith's going to be close to 30. Saquon Barkley's on the other side of 30. I mean, what does a team look like in 3 years? That's tough.
Let me ask you this one question here. What would the Chiefs look like with Dallas Goddard on them?
Good. That's a tight end heavy offense, and he's better than 2024 Travis Kelsey.
Yeah.
He's not better than 2023 Travis Kelsey.
No, he's better than 2025 Travis Kelsey for sure.
For sure, and he brings another element that they've never had with Travis
in the blocking
Kelsey.
game.
Yes, he's not a liability in other areas of the offense. In fact, I think Patrick Mahomes would drool over Dallas Goddard.
Goddard to Kansas City makes a lot of sense. And you think the relationship, get this, and you think the relationship would be better. And like you just mentioned, he's out of the NFC and you're not having him land in Dallas or Washington. I would hate to see Dallas Goddard in Washington or something like that. The Rams, too, I wouldn't want Goddard. I wouldn't want Goddard on the Rams.
Right.
I don't mind him with the Chargers. You have any more supers?
Yeah, we got more supers. I was trying to find the Black Baptist. He sent us another super chat, but he didn't put text on it. And he had a comment that I wanted to read. So here it is. Got it. Black Baptist, I'll attach this to your other $5 super chat. Thank you, bro. He says, my first time doing a super chat. I've been listening to you consistently for several months. Your unfiltered approach is nothing like other Philly media content. Great compliment for Big Sills there.
Thank you, Black Baptist. I appreciate it very much. That's kind of something that we want to separate ourselves from. I hate sounding common.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm a Philly Baptist. I'm not the best. Watch this. I'm not the best, but I know this. There's nobody like me.
Nobody. You could maybe call Sills a lot of names. Common is not one of those names. And I would take great pride in that. Joe Sakic, great pull. Loved Joe Sakic.
By the way, my friend, I think we're getting you I'm going to say a comment to you right here so your dad can hear too. Listen, I think you're starting to be one of the junior Howards and Angelo and Big Sills is, I think we're kind of, I think we have a new guy here, man. I don't know. Keep it up.
I want to continue to be made.
I like it.
Continue to get better, continue to improve.
Bro, I can't tell you. I do this. Watch this. I put Messinelli on. Then I go, I can't stand it. Then I go back over to you and John.
They stink, bro.
So that to me is the ultimate. I'm sampling.
YouTube's just getting cooking. That's the best part about this thing, man. It's valuable for us to be here and for all of our listeners. We appreciate all you guys.
Brian says, what? LeBron's a narcissist? Welcome to the NBA.
Well, Brian, he said, I'll read it. LeBron's a narcissist. You can see how he couldn't give Barkley praise for his backwards hurdle, focused on his shoes. LeBron not better than Curry. Well, Brian, here's the thing. I mean, is there a little bit of narcissism in LeBron? I'm sure. But, bro, if you were told you're the next coming since you were 16 years old, when you just learned how to drive a car until you were 40, for longer than you were a child, you'd probably have a little bit of that too. And I'd even go as far as to say it's impressive how humble he is for having that life. I mean, I don't know. I see it a little differently than you. I'm not saying he's not a little bit in love with himself, but that's never bothered me in people because I think you have to have that to be great.
I don't have a problem.
You think Michael Jordan didn't think any motherfucker he lined up against he was going to beat? You know, I think you have to love yourself a little bit. I think you got to be confident, you know.
There's no doubt in that you have to. I'm going to tell you a little story here, real quick here. So my friend Jay Brophy, I should post it. I'll post a picture of Jay Brophy and LeBron. He coached him in high school at St. Mary's when he was a football player. He said that if he would have went on to play football, you know, he was a two-time All-State flanker in Ohio. Did you know LeBron was a two-time All-State football player?
That doesn't surprise me at all. Have you seen the guy's athleticism? He's maybe the most athletic person to ever exist on the planet. Is that a crazy statement?
What's that?
Is that a crazy statement? Is he one of the most athletic people in the history of mankind?
Do you think LeBron could play all 5 positions on the court?
Absolutely.
How many players do you know could do that? Shaq can't.
No.
Michael can't.
No, Michael can't. Kobe couldn't.
Kobe can't. He's the most versatile player. Here's where he messed up. You're not going to beat Jordan on getting shots, but you're the most versatile player in the history of the sport.
Giannis is a good one.
Giannis is tremendous.
What about like a prime? I don't want to go Paul Pierce. He couldn't do it.
No. Pierce is great. Pierce is barely below the upper shelf guys like Magic, Bird, them dudes. I'll tell you what, he's an underrated player though, Paul Pierce.
What about prime Melo in terms of playing all 5 positions?
You know what I never got with him? I never thought he was a winner. His best accolades.
He's not a winner.
Get this, his best accolades are in the Olympics and in college.
Yeah, he's not a winner. I mean, he told the story before about what Jordan taught him. You know, when he, because he was one of the first athletes to sign with the Jordan brand. He was telling this story. Where did I hear this? I don't know if I heard it on a podcast. I'd like to give it credit, but I read it or heard it somewhere that Carmelo had a story, and one of the first things he talked to Jordan about after he signed with Jordan was about scoring. And he was like, all right, if you average 25 and you want to go to 30, and this is Mike talking to him, Mike says, slow the game down, take it by quarter. If you want to get 28, you need 7 1/4. That's 2 layups and a 3. That's 3 layups and a couple free throws. You might get more or less 1/4. Like, you don't need to get all your scoring right away. And Melo said, oh, that's slow. That helped me so much because I slowed the game down. And it's good advice for scoring, but I always got a kick out of it. And I'm like, that's classic Melo. All he wanted to do was score. He didn't give a shit about winning. He just wanted to score.
I had the chance to get Phil Jackson on one time in my broadcasting career.
That's amazing. That's a good guy.
And I asked him, I said, how did you start winning he's got 12 titles, one as a player, the other 11 or as coach.
Yeah.
I go, how did you start winning in Chicago? He goes like this. I had to convince Mike to score less points so that the rest of the team, he had to make another star on the team. He couldn't do it by himself.
Right.
He scored 63 in double overtime against, people forget this. Man, he was so great against the Celtics. He scored 63 in the Garden against that Boston Celtics team. People forget. The Celtics swept them. I mean, it wasn't like that series was close. It wasn't close. Right. They swept them. And so Jordan kept going. He goes, you got to score less. You want to win scoring titles? This was Melo's problem. You want to win scoring titles? Win scoring titles. You want to win NBA titles? You got to involve everyone around, and you've got to define people's role. If you remember right, first it was Horace Grant, got you 17 and 10. Then they got Rodman in there to be a defender on the box. They're interchangeable centers, man. They had Cartwright. They had Luke Longley. They had all them guys. Then they go out in Europe and they get Tony Kukoc. They had so many great role players, and everyone had a defining role. That's kind of a little bit what Philly had defensively. Everyone had a defined role,
Right.
and everyone knew their role. That, to me, is what makes championship teams, and that is, to me, a culture.
I agree. What's your favorite sport to talk about?
Used to be baseball when it mattered. I think baseball has lost. There's no personalities in the sport. I like personalities. I like this. I like people who say shit.
You're like me. I like personalities too.
I don't like to cover vanilla. I mean, I hate anything vanilla. I like people like some people go like this. Look at Kanye. And I know people have a crazy opinion. You know what I say about Kanye though? I love controversial people. And I think controversy sells, good or bad. Look at the news. CNN and Fox, they make billions of dollars a year on controversy. I hate Trump. I love Trump. That, to me, is the benchmark in how you do a show. Why in the world would I cover something that no one cares about?
Right.
You know, I used to do this in radio. That's why when you listen to a guy like Mike Missinelli or you listen to any radio show, they're talking about shit seasonal. People don't give a shit about it. They're talking about things that they excite them. Love, they want to know. I'm not taking off the shelf football. Football, to me, like Angelo said, 70%. You heard Angelo. 70% of his content is going to be football still.
Yeah.
Even on opening day.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, football is a dominant force. I love all sports. I've always been a sports head. When I was a kid, my mom used to say, if you knew as much about your schoolwork as you do about sports, you'd be a straight A student. And I said, Mom, I don't know what you want me to tell you. I'm never going to know it all. Right. But she used to always say, you know everything about sports. But
me too.
I've only ever talked about football because I just started doing this a year ago. But even just today, it's fun talking about others, kicking a lot of things around.
Well, we're from the Northeast. And so to me, obviously, it's baseball, hockey. And then it was football. For me growing up, I grew up, seriously, man, I loved following the Nets because they had Dr. J on it. And that was an old ABA team. And baseball, to me, I couldn't wait for opening day. I used to be the guy, Zander, go to a game, and I used to keep score. Like, I was a guy to win E5, and I was doing all that shit.
Right.
I loved that stuff growing up. I had books and books of baseball guys. Dude, I still got a baseball card collection that is unbelievable and unmatched. My God.
You might not know anything about that world. If you want to monetize that collection, I can make it happen for you.
How about this for you? I got a baseball card of a Mickey Mantle from 1961, him and Maris.
I don't know if you're understanding how much cards sell for nowadays.
Watch this. If you Google the rookie card of Mark McGwire, Google it. I have 4 of them. My uncle gave them to me because he used to get the tops all the time. Look what a Mark McGwire rookie card goes for.
Right now, there's a pre-owned one for $1,500 on
I got
eBay.
4 of them.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, there's this thing called Whatnot. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Whatnot. And you go on there and you show people what you got, and they just bid. I was watching a card guy on there. He's got thousands of cards because we do sports. So I was thinking of different ways I could do sports, and I was wondering if cards would be a thing that I would do. And I'm watching this dude. Dude, he's selling. He must have sold 20 grand worth of cards in 30 minutes. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Ask him. You should Google what is a Pete Rose baseball worth a month before his death, signed with a date. I have it. After the interview he did here, he sent me another baseball, dated.
You ever want to liquidate your ass?
7 months later, he passed away.
Wait, you ever want to liquidate? I'll charge you a small fee of 5%. All right, that's it. All right, we make 1,000. I'll take $50. All right, that's it. You want to liquidate? You probably got 50 grand worth of cards.
Okay. So, I mean,
all right, let's get these supers. I gotta get.
My wife just gave me shit for talking about Kanye. She said, "Keep that guy out of your mouth."
Kyle Kutkowski, what up, Kyle?
Kim just said, "Keep that guy out of your mouth."
Earliest green would get drafted will be the Bucks.
Earliest.
Where are the Bucks? 12 to 15.
Yeah,
I know Dallas is 12.
Yeah. I think he's going to fall, dude.
Bucks have what? They're what, 19?
Yeah, 19.
Yeah, they're 19.
Yeah.
This mock draft has them taking Donovan Izaraku.
Okay.
I'd like Izaraku for Philly. Brian Pumper again checks in. Phillies are the Baltimore Ravens of the MLB, all-time expectations team, all-time choking team, fastball to the DK if you think otherwise. He's not, I mean, I wouldn't say that, but if they don't win in the next 2 years, you could probably put them in this category.
Brian, here's the problem with the Phillies. They've never had a great farm system since the mid-90s when they had really a great farm system going. Then they ended up getting Halladay. They brought him in from Toronto, and they had Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, all them dudes, man. When those guys were bringing up guys and bringing up younger players, they had a great farm system. They've fallen off for Dave Dombrowski too, man. I always thought Dave to be a great talent evaluator. Remember where he came from, Zander? He was the guy that built that championship Marlins team that beat the Yankees in New York. I mean, he knew how to get young players. He's the guy that went out and got Miguel Cabrera and then brought him up to Detroit when he was there. So he knows young talent. I'm shocked that they haven't done a better job down on their farm system. That's where they were known for always bringing up good players. I just think their bullpen's light.
It is. It's way light. And they don't have the right lineup. That's again, we talked about Dombrowski earlier in the segment. That's my knock on the Phillies, is that they have a good lineup. They don't have the right lineup, right? You have Schwarber, you have Harper, you have Bohm, you have redundancy. You need more small ball hitters. And now they have Trey Turner trying to be a home run guy.
Here's one thing before we move on from Pump. There's one thing that I'll tell you. Gary Templeton told me he was a phenomenal ball player. He's one of the few players, Zander, in the history of the game that have 100 hits from the right side and left side. He was a switch hitter, tremendous player. He goes, back in the day when the Cardinals were developing young players, from A ball to double A to triple A to single A. Do you know that every time you made those leaps, they had a book for Cardinal players. So when you got to the big leagues, you knew what to expect. There wasn't different systems in the minor. So what they did was they defined roles immediately in who you were. You're a 2-hitter. You're in the 3-hole. Right. You're a 4-hitter. They didn't have these so-called, like you said, when they put a lineup together, the Phillies, it's all over the place.
It's all over the place. It is. And now they're going to do this thing where righties and lefties are going to have different leadoff. They're going to put Kyle at the leadoff.
I hate that.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I totally hate that.
I agree. I hate it too. Kimbo says Shiloh Sanders at safety, 52nd pick. Nah. Suo Blaze.
Sanders wasn't even invited to the combines.
Yeah, I don't like him. Suo Blaze, I'm sure Howie has trades in place if people fall. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And Suo Alshant, I think we got that one. Here we go. Suo. Oh, boy. This is going to bring me down memory lane. He says, my fave player growing up was Pavel Datsyuk. Dude, Henrik Zetterberg, Pavel Datsyuk, Nicholas Lidstrom, Chris Chelios. Who else was on that freaking team? I loved that Red Wings team. What was that? 06, 07, 08, 09, back in that era?
I got to show you something, man. Do you know who one of my dearest friends is? Ken Holland. Do you know who that is? He's the guy who built the Red Wing dynasty. Ken Holland was the GM and president. What an absolute friend of mine. Look how many Stanley Cups he
Former
won.
Goaltender, yep. But wow, he was the GM of the Red Wings.
Yep.
For their entire run with that roster, Datsyuk and Lidstrom. Who were the defensemen on that team? The one dude who played till he was Chris Chelios played till he was like 50, dude. He played, and the other dude played till he was like 40. Nicholas Lidstrom. I mean, that's a pretty.
You want to hear something about Lidstrom? Lidstrom won the what's the defensive
the defensive award. I'm blanking on the name of it, but
the Norris Trophy.
Okay.
He won the Norris Trophy. Get this. And then retired because he had played until he was 43. His last year, then he was so good. He goes, I can't go anymore. I'm just, he's the best defenseman in the game. Right. And he retired. Nicholas Lindstrom's on. He's one of the GOATs and one of the Mount Rushmores of Red Wing. I showed you my Gordie Howe book, right?
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, it's got him and his wife signed it. They came in the studio. Gordie Howe came in. He signed it for me and my wife. My wife.
You got $1 million worth of sports memorabilia in the house.
By the way, my wife and I, Kim's been to more hockey games than football games.
I believe that. Did Kim like hockey?
Oh my God! One year
that doesn't surprise me. Based on
what you told me about Kim. Won 19 ball games.
It's a very good physical.
Hey, Zander, one year when the Lightning won 19 ball games, I think my wife went to every home game.
Wow, that's sick.
Yeah, I mean, she's been to way more hockey games. So my daughter too has been to more hockey games.
Hockey in person is unbelievable.
Yeah, Kim loves hockey.
A lot of times that's what it takes for people to become a fan. You go to a game in person and you really see it. It's amazing. Brian Pumper checks in. Phillies have too many white guys.
Andre Fleury too.
Yeah. Phillies have too many white guys on their lineup. Not enough flavor from south of the border. Shoot, why don't they have one of those Asians? I don't know if he's wrong.
Come on,
lie to you. Is Pumper even wrong here? I said the lineup's redundant. I didn't typically mean white guys, but I don't know. Maybe they could use a little flavor, like you said. I don't know, Pump.
Yeah. Hey, Pump, I'll take that Shohei Ohtani's cousin if he has one. I'll tell you what.
Too late. He already signed with the Dodgers, bro.
Hey, man, I'll tell you what. That Shohei Ohtani, best. Hey, dude, I've been watching clips on Bonds. You
got to get him on.
Listen, I've had the privilege of covering him when I worked at KNBR, the home of the Giants. Every game my wife and I went to for a Giant game, Bonds hit a homer.
Right.
And get this. So I'm broadcasting one day for the Raiders. Guess who my wife is sitting next to watching a Raider preseason game? Ricky Henderson. So we're covering Ricky Henderson and Bonds at the same time. Crazy great.
I hope all these sports, baseball, basketball, hockey, I hope they all surge forward. I want them to all improve. And I'm not optimistic they will, but I hope they all do.
You know what, too? And I hope, again, I think YouTube is going to make that thing happen, too.
Yeah.
Because I think now, I love that thing that John posted, that YouTube's the most visible network now in the country, and that helps us.
Suo Blaze, this is diabolical that I left him out. It's diabolical that I left him out. Nicholas Kronwall, baby. There was nobody better in the NHL video game to play with and level people with than Nicholas Kronwall, baby. Great pull by Suo.
Wait, better than Marchment?
Marchment.
As a goon?
Dude, I'm looking. Scott Stevens was one of the best.
Kronwall
was one of the best.
Yeah.
Who was that?
The guy in Chicago, Bob Probert.
There's a lot of good enforcers in hockey.
Bob Probert.
Kronwall was not just an enforcer. Kronwall could play.
Yeah, but Bob Probert tried to murder you.
Czech legend. That's great.
Okay.
All right, good stuff, Sills.
You got it, my friend. All right, hey, we're gonna get Kurt Schilling on here in a couple minutes. I gotta pay some bills here. So,
all right, brother. Good show, man. Great stuff today. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate all you guys.
All right. Don't forget, my friends. Thanks, Zander. Appreciate it. Don't forget our great friends at Morgan & Morgan, where they have the #1 injury law firm in the country. By the way, we really had a great time with John Morgan on with us yesterday. Gave you some lessons in success, did he not? This law firm has recovered over $20 billion for clients across the country. Right here in Pennsylvania, I told you, $650K to initially offered a family. They ended up getting $26 million. In Florida, there was a family that was offered $350K. They ended up getting $12 million. Listen, this will be the easiest decision you make when it comes to helping your family and choosing the right injury law firm in America. They're all second to Morgan & Morgan. Go to forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sales sent you.